Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go to Fujizakura Heights beer from Yamanashi Prefecture here in Japan. Very close to Mount Fuji, and this is a brewery who I rate really quite highly. They do some really nice German beers, and we've got one of their special edition beers to have a look at today. This is the Roppongi Draft 1, a 6.6% Weizenbock, apparently a special version of their original Weizenbock beer, but this time with Citra and Mandarina Bavaria hops. And this was apparently only available in their beer bar that they have in Roppongi in Tokyo, but they released a small bottle batch of it. So it should be very interesting. It wasn't rated on Rate Beer, incidentally. There was only a couple of reviews there, but the regular Weizenbock is rated very highly, and I know that these guys produce some very nice beer. This was another one, of course, I picked up from Koji Store, Liquor Store Asahiya, Taishibashi, Maichi, Osaka. Very good beer store, so make sure you check out the link to their Facebook page in the video description below. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Fujizakura Heights beer reviews. There's a few of them now. This is my third review if I remember correctly. More will be added in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do consider subscribing to the channel, and as always, to those of you watching in Japan, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other Japanese beers and breweries you guys would like to review. If you want to see my other Japanese reviews as well, go to the channel homepage, use the search bar and simply type Japan and they all will pop up. But anyway, let's have a little look at Fujizakura Heights beer. So as I mentioned to you, this brewery is based in Yamanashi Prefecture, actually very close to Kawaguchi Lake, which is in the Mount Fuji region of Japan. The company is actually known officially as Fujikan Kokai Hatsu, but apparently their beers officially are marketed as Fujizakura Heights. This is very common in Japan actually. Usually there's a parent company and then the beers have a specific name. It's usually a kind of sidearm or sort of a sub-company within the big parent company. And the reason for this, I think, is because many breweries in Japan actually start out as sake breweries and they're kind of jumping on the sort of craft beer wave that's going through Japan at the moment. But the head brewer at the brewery is Miyashita Hiromichi, and he was actually sent by his company to study brewing in Germany, and he worked under a brewmaster in Hiroshima who'd actually graduated from the academy in Germany before he headed over there himself. He didn't speak English apparently, so he had to go over with a translator, and he spent 6 weeks there back in 1996. But upon his return to Japan, he studied for a further 2 months in Iwate. But the brewery has a restaurant called Sylvan's, and they also wanted Miyashita to actually learn how to make the Rauch beer, of course, the famous Bamberg Rauch beer such as Schlenkerla, Spezial and things like that. But the brewery felt that the Rauch beer would really suit the restaurant atmosphere, and they also have several other German beer styles in their range as well, the Pils and the Weizen. And like I say, the German beer here in Japan is very popular, so a lot of Japanese breweries base their brewing on the old German styles of beer. There's so many Kolschis and Weizens and things like that here, but the Rauch beer is one that is a little bit less common. But the brewery now focuses on this, brewing their own German styles, and they're actually one of the most decorated craft breweries in Japan. So a really good brewery. I've enjoyed all the beers I've tried from them so far, and I'm really looking forward to trying this one actually. It should be really quite nice. As I say, this was an exclusive one for their beer bar, the Fujizakura beer bar in Roppongi in Tokyo. So I'll need to go and check that out when I head up there in a few weeks' time. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, there's the chocolate wheat, the Dunkel Weizen, the Festival Weizen, the Pils, the Rauch beer. They've also got a Rauchbock as well, which I'd love to try. Sakura Bock, Schwarzweizen, the Black Weizen beer, the Weizen, and also the Weizenbock as well. Like I say, this one is a 6.6% Weizenbock, and it's a special edition one that was done for the bar in Roppongi, hence why it's called Roppongi Draft 1. So I'll just let you have a little look at this one. Like I said at the start of the video, the recipe for this one is based on their original Weizenbock beer from what I gather, except it uses Citra and Mandarina Bavaria hops. Mandarina Bavaria is meant to be a very nice hop. I need to try a single IPA, a single hop IPA, and get the full idea of the Mandarina Bavaria, but it's becoming a very popular hop. But as you can see, this one's really nice. You can see the little Mount Fuji, the cherry blossoms and Fuji-san in the little part down here. It looks very nicely presented, as we've come to expect from Fujizakura Heights beer. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really looking forward to trying this one. So yeah, nice smoky opening as we open this guy up, and we'll get it out and into the glass. We're getting a nice big head on this beer. Just need to pour it a little bit carefully, and we'll get it all out. There we are. Really nice pour, actually. Perfect pour from this guy, as you would expect from Fujizakura. So yeah, as you can see, this beer is poured kind of sort of what you would expect, actually. Normally I would expect a Weizenbock to just be a little bit darker than this, but it looks more like a regular Hefeweizen. It's got a nice finger and a half of a frothy white head on it. I would say that's perfect white rather than a creamy white head on this guy. You can see it is quite hazy. If I put my fingers behind it, there's a little bit of transparency there, but overall the beer is quite opaque in colour. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. It looks very, very nice. So let's have a little closer look at the aroma then for this beer. Oh yeah, no, it really smells more like a Hefeweizen beer, actually. It smells like a straight up Hefeweizen. Nice bready, doughy, yeasty character. The wheat in this one is quite interesting. The Japanese wheat, normally you can smell a little bit of difference between the Belgian wheat beers, of course, and the German style ones. And this is interesting because you can tell that it's a German style Hefeweizen, but the wheaty character smells that little bit different, so I guess they might well have used Japanese wheat in this one. So it will have a little bit of difference to the flavour. But you can smell it. It's quite a smooth and slightly sweet wheaty character that's coming out of this one. If you sugar it up a little bit more, you can get a little bit of caramel coming out of it, but really the focus of the aroma is on the wheaty characteristics and how smooth they are. There's a little bit of banana in there, and you can also smell some of these hoppy characters. There's a little bit of an orangey citrus coming out of this one, but it's quite floral and quite grassy. There's a little bit of that German noble hop, which is exactly what you'd expect from Mandarina Bavaria, a sort of orangey, quite sharp citrus, and also those typical grassy, floral German aromatic notes in there, the noble hop character. You can smell a little bit of the tropical fruit, especially when you sugar the beer up a little bit. You can get a little bit of the kind of juicier tropical notes that you would expect from the citra hop in this one. Usually you get things like peaches and apricots, and you can get a little bit of that. Usually it's like you can get a little bit of watermelon and things like that. I'm trying to pick up exactly what it is that's coming out of this one, but you can smell the banana. The citrusy orange is definitely there, and I want to say maybe it is a little bit of a sort of apricot-y note that's mixing with the banana in this one. The banana is quite strong in this beer, and I think it's apricots that are mixing in with this, but maybe there's a little bit of a sort of kind of peary note coming out of this beer as well. So it's quite an interesting aroma. Just take a little bit of time and enjoy this before you actually get stuck into it. It's a limited edition beer, like I said, so just do savour it if you get the chance to try it. But it smells really nice. There's not really much kind of caramel note coming out of this one. I was expecting that with it being a Weizenbock beer. Usually a bit of dark caramel coming out, but overall it smells very nice. So let's get stuck into this one then. The Roppongi Draft 1 6.6% Weizenbock beer from Fujizakura Heights Beer from Yamanashi here in Japan. Kampai. Now it's interesting because it's a good beer, don't get me wrong, but the Weizenbock character, it tastes to me just more like a Hefeweizen. And you know, there's nothing, you know, style of beer for me doesn't really matter. It's not the thing that really kind of bothers me a little bit, but it's more whether the beer's good or not. It is definitely a good beer, but Rate Beer had this one down as a Weizenbock beer. And to me, it doesn't quite have the kind of darker things that you'd normally expect from a Weizenbock. Yeah, I mean, there are little things of it, but usually the Bock character in a Weizenbock beer is strong. I mean, the things that I'm thinking about when it comes to the Weizenbock style, you think of Schneider Weiss, the Tap 6, Unser Aventinas. You think of that kind of beer, and that's big and caramelly, and it's also got that sort of wheaty backbone to it. This one to me really leans more towards being a regular Hefeweizen than a Weizenbock, but as a Hefeweizen, it is a very, very good beer, and it's really nice and sessionable, so we'll think about it in that regard. But this is nice. Wouldn't expect anything less from Fujizakura Heights. So yeah, as you would expect with this beer, you get that nice big bready character that goes right across the middle of the tongue there. There's a good bit of dryness builds in this flavour as well. It's just probably because of that Mandarina Bavaria hop, and the Citra in there is quite prominent. But I think the main hop in this one is the Bavaria, the Mandarina Bavaria. But this is nice. So yeah, like I say, you've got that bready character that goes right across the middle of the tongue there. The wheaty presence in this beer is very, very smooth actually. That wheaty character, it's actually got that little bit of sweetness that you can pick up in the aroma. That really sits there in the middle of the tongue. I'm not really getting much in the way of caramel. There is a little bit of it in the middle of the palate, and you can feel that sweetness as it comes out just a little bit in the aftertaste. But for me, the malt base really is more of a typical Hefeweizen rather than a Weizenbock beer. There's a little bit of the clovey spice going on in there. You can pick up some of the banana flavours on top of that, but really the flavour for me in this beer is more about that nice, slightly sweet, wheaty malt base in this one. The yeasty character gives the beer a good bit of body as well. It's very nice. Yeah, you do really get just a little bit of that caramel flavour as the beer progresses and moves into the aftertaste. You get this little oily feel, and you can feel a little bit of the caramel mixing with the sort of yeasty and banana flavours in there. But overall, it's really quite nice actually. Another very, very good beer from Fujizakura Heights. On the hoppy side of things with this beer, in the back corners of the palate there's a teeny little bit of that earthy character that comes with the use of German noble hops. As you come further forward, you get maybe just a tiny little bit of herbal character, but really it's more floral and aromatic. Around the front corners of the tongue, it's big, floral and aromatic, and there's a bit of grassy character around that front edge, but as it progresses into the aftertaste, it becomes more floral and a bit more dry. But the main point is that it's really good. The fruity character to this beer is pretty interesting as well. Yeah, it's definitely quite citrusy. It's not quite as orangey as I was thinking it was going to be from the aroma. There is a little bit of citrusy character just in that part of the tongue behind the very front curve, and you can pick up that little oily bubble where the fruitiness comes out. You can get that in there. There's some nice there's a little bit of tropical fruit flavour to it as well, but it's very it's very, very mild, should I say. There's a little bit of the sort of appley, peary esters. They are what's coming out in the aftertaste, but you can get a little bit maybe of the slightly apricot-y or sort of apricot, maybe slightly peachy flavours coming out there. It's not quite peachy. It really does lean more towards the sort of peachy, the sort of peary, or appley kind of esters coming out in this one. So on the fruity side of things, a little bit citrusy and a little bit sort of peary, kind of peachy or apricot as well, but peaches would be very minimal in the terms of the flavour of this beer. Like I say, it strikes me as being more of a Weizen, like a Hefeweizen beer with American hops. Maybe a little tiny bit of the Weizenbock character is in there, but to me it's not quite strong enough on the caramel side of things to fit the Weizenbock category. But you can talk about styles all day. The fact is, it's a good beer and you should give it a go. The Weizenbock beer that these guys produce is very, very nice. I've tried it before, but I've not managed to review it yet, so I would recommend you try that and then try this one to see the differences. But this one really strikes me as being more of a nice Weizen beer with some American hops, and the Mandarina Bavaria is a very good hop too. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this one I'd say mid-bodied, definitely kind of mid-bodied in that regard. It's got a nice smoothness to it. The wheaty character, like I say, is quite smooth and quite sweet. The carbonation reflects that. There's just a little bit of a prickle from it. But overall, it's really nice. There's a bit of dryness from the hops as well. The kind of bittery floral aromatic character is very nicely done. There's a little bit of fruity juiciness. And the interesting part of this one is the malt base, the kind of smoothness and the sweetness that you have from the wheat in this beer. But overall, a very, very solid beer once again. from Fujizakura Heights. I wouldn't expect anything less. The one thing I would say about this beer is that if you're expecting a Weizenbock, be prepared for something that is more like a Hefeweizen than a Weizenbock. But as a Weizen, it's a very good beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Been really cool to once again return to Fujizakura Heights, one of the breweries that I really enjoy here in Japan, and I will return to them fairly soon. But thank you once again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media. If you want to see another Japanese beer reviewer, do go and check out some of the videos from Casey and Eric at Sotogami Akiha Beer. They've got a very, very nice channel. I'll put the link to them in the description below. But until next time, please do let me know your thoughts on this beer. Let me know your favourite beers from this brewery as well. And do get in touch and let me know some other Japanese beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. Until the next time, slange just now, and do check out all the links in the description below. Cheers.